in a little bit, Jay, but he'll be standing by. Evelyn is a former board member for the Guam Regional Transit Authority, and I like to think of her as an advocate for persons with disabilities because uh, that's just what she does. Every time I run into her, she's always got some kind of news that affects, in some way. I mean, and sadly, mostly negative ways, affects those persons with disabilities in our community. So, Evelyn, I know this was a couple Payless trips in the making, but thank you for coming on the link this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
And let's just go ahead and start. So you were on the Guam Regional Transit Authority board, right? When was that, and how long did you serve before you were? Um,
Um, I served in, that was a year ago. I was brought on August of 2019, and then I got removed in December 9th of 2019.
right, and I remember there was a little bit of controversy with your tenure on the board. So and if you could just bring us back to that. So why do you feel you were removed from the board?
I guess because I always bring issues and concerns up that relates to the services, and it's a repetitive thing basically, and when it happens more than once, I tend to not let it go off my plate because, like I said, I use the system every day.
Yeah.
So, every day there's always a repetitive issue. And I know that, the agency is just working with its means, but at the same time, too, I do believe that there's room to improve that doesn't require um, money. And that's basically the issues of um, transportation since they reinvented the wheel from GMTA to Guam Regional Transit Authority. Um, so it is trying to come back as an autonomous agency right now. It's still a semi, but it hasn't, reached um, the goals that public law, um, uh, now that I can't remember,
Yeah.
But you talk
the
about
public
these.
law that.
Right. Evelyn, can you
Go
just
ahead.
move over in front of the camera so we can see your pretty face? And a day, lady in red
How's
over here.
that?
Thank you. That's much better. Okay, Sabrina.
Yeah. So, what are some of the repetitive issues? Have things changed for you?
Things change. We now see GRTA has brought on 3 new vehicles recently. As a matter of fact, they just got on the road maybe like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. But the thing about it is that the new buses that are running now have lifts, and as you can see, the vans, which are called the MV1s and the airbox, are all low floor entry. Um, but the 3 buses that came in are what they call high floor, which are lift operated. And GRTA moved away from that for a while, which would be called a dinosaur style because it's a lift operated. So because of my past experience on the lift buses, I refuse to ride on the lift buses because of safety issues that I've encountered. I know they're new, but with hydraulics, those things can easily malfunction. I've seen it happen several times with me, so I basically just stay on the low floor vehicles, which are the ramp entries. And it's a lot easier to load and unload that way than it would be with a lift.
Right. But Evelyn, as they kind of move towards getting new buses, are all of the buses from here on out going to be ramp, or are they all going to be hydraulic lift?
What I heard was the buses that they're still waiting for are RAM entry. But as far as I know, people would say seeing is believing on that regard. Oh.
Well, I'm looking at this report, I believe, in this letter that you wrote Friday, March 26th. You accessed fixed route and paratransit service, and so if you could just take us through the observations and what you experienced that day.
When I got onto fixed route, the buses have what they call a request stop button. So when you press the button, it notifies the driver to the stop that you're getting off.
Yeah.
But on Friday, when I utilized fixed route, I wasn't able to use the button because it wasn't working. And when I had asked the driver whether this was, normal to them, and then he says that it's on intermittently, and I'm like, okay, well, so again, we go back from technology to low tech, from high tech to low tech, because I had to yell out my stop to the driver twice for him to know where I needed to get off.
Evelyn, I want to read a little bit from your letter here, and this is a letter you wrote to the executive manager of the regional transit, Mr. Selva Balta. And yeah, Sel is actually on the Zoom, so we're gonna bring him in. Can we get Mr. B in, Mike? Okay. But just in reading some of these observations, now this is a Friday. You went out Friday on the transit, and your observations of the service that day. Observation 1, 11 in the morning. The red line was down. You were told that it wouldn't be available till 1:30. No backup bus available. Observation 2, orange line, no accessible marking, which would indicate if it was ramped or equipped. You asked 2 drivers if the line was accessible for individuals using a mobility device. Was told that it's not. For the past 12 years, Regional Transit has only operated accessible vehicles on fixed and demand routes as well as paratransit services. You cannot use the orange line to go to retirement fund, Coast 360, Social Security, Pay Less, Cost You Less. These are locations that you frequently visit. This lack of accessible service violates your civil rights. You also cite here in one of your observations lack of maintenance and cleanliness at the Harmon Drug bus stop. Waiting for Blue Line 1 at the stop, had difficulty getting into the shelter for shade. The entry ramp was full of trash, blocking access. You had to have other people clear the trash so you could enter. There are a few obvious other observations here. You talked about the request for stop button. And then in your last observation, where you ended your riding day at 6:30, you observed a porta potty for transit passengers located at the Agotnia hub. This is a good service for passengers. However, it was not large enough to be accessible for individuals using a mobility device. All stops and all facility amenities must be accessible for the public. This includes access to public restrooms. This lack of accessible amenity is a violation of civil rights. And you close your letter by asking for Mr. Babauta's expeditious attention regarding these matters. And so, I know that in your letter you asked for a response within 14 days. Well, we're trying to speed that up a little bit by getting the Regional Transit Director, Mr. Sel Babauta, on. Good morning, Mr. B. Unmute, sir.
Good morning, Ms. Evelyn and Chris, and of course Sabrina.
Good morning.
Some pretty heavy observations here on Miss Evelyn's part, and I'm sure you're no stranger to this. Miss Evelyn, I commend you for what you're doing, because you aren't just talking the talk. I mean, you're out here in your mobility device on the front line, finding out what works, what doesn't. And I think where some people kind of get rubbed the wrong way is you let people know about it, which is, I mean, that's how you get stuff solved, right?
Yeah, that's me.
So, Mr. B, we'll go ahead and give you the floor. Your responses.
Well, let me just say that GRTA is trying its best to accommodate all of the riders with respect to the resources that we have. As a matter of fact, we've accommodated riders in the past who were having some trouble with their roommate at their apartments, and we go all out to help the riders out. Now, hold on a second. We've gone out and provided tickets to riders who are in need of tickets.
Oh, Lord.
To do that, and I can tell you that with regards to the vehicles that we're purchasing, we've been trying to purchase vehicles for quite a long time now, like about 2 years. They're finally coming in, hopefully around July or August. And these vehicles, Chris and Sabrina, when we put them out on the road, we make sure that it's safe. As a matter of fact, the past couple months, I was in Hawaii a couple of times observing. I was observing Honolulu's paratransit, and all of their handy vans are high floors. The reason why we bought some high floors is because in Guam, our roads are not in the best shape. In Guam, we're picking riders in very remote areas that require a higher level of vehicle versus the lower floor vehicles. So that when we pick up and drop off riders, we'll have some flexibility within our fleet. So with regards to buying vehicles. We're making sure that the vehicles we buy are able to accommodate our riders wherever they may be, and we're accommodating riders throughout the island of Guam. Chris and Sabrina, I initiated a passenger reaction questionnaire for our riders, and the great majority of the response that we get, of course, it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but the great majority of the responses from our riders is that the service that we're providing at GRTA now is much better than what it was before, So are we perfect? No, we're not. Do we have challenges? Yes, we do have some challenges, but we're addressing those challenges. For those fixed routes where the vehicle that we're using is not ADA compliant. Whenever there's a rider who needs a ride, I have backup driver to pick up those riders who need ADA compliant vehicle to be transported. We, for the month of March, we haven't denied any rider transportation with regards to, paratransit riders, because I've sat down with my team and look at what we have and ensure that with the resources that we have, we're going to do our darn best to provide paratransit riders with the rights that they need. Mm-hmm. And based on the American with Disabilities Act, riders call in a day before, and we are obligated by law to provide transportation. So, but on the other hand, whenever riders call in at the last minute and say, hey, I want to make some changes. We accommodate those riders and we have the capability. So, Chris and Sir, I'll tell you, it's been a big challenge. This agency, like before, this agency has been in existence for over 10 years. People were being denied transportation in the past. Now we're doing our best to make things better, and we're moving in the direction of making sure that we provide our transit system, the best for riders to take advantage of. So it's challenging. It's challenging, but we're going to continue to do our best to make things better.
Can we go through her observations though? With the red line on observation 1, red line was down. This was Friday.
When was that?
Friday. Observation
Friday,
1.
It was down, but it was recovered, and we made some changes in the afternoon to make sure that we have an RBOC on that route. Yes, it was down momentarily, but then we brought it back up again for the rest of the day. We did that.
Observation 2, seated in paratransit vehicle at Social Security parking lot in Tiedzen. Wide van. This is the orange. Is this the orange line? Yeah, an orange line.
We have orange line that operates. That's being that vehicle that we're using with that is a 12-passenger vehicle, and like I said, paratransit riders who wish to take the fixed route, if they're waiting, and GRTA, the Transit Management Center, is contacted. Somebody from GRTA will go out and pick up that rider. But be advised that paratransit riders, they call in and make their reservations, and they don't have to take the fixed route. They can, they have that option. But more or less, it's best for them to call and get paratransit service, because then they are guaranteed to get a ride. And but Orange, we operate Orange consistently, and it's operational.
But orange line is not accessible for paratransit.
It's not the vehicle that we're using is not ADA compliant. But if a rider is waiting on Orange, that is a mobility device, we respond by sending a driver out to pick up that rider and drop him off or her off at revenue and tax or wherever the case may be.
If I may interject here, that day when I needed it to access, I needed to go to the bank, and they weren't able to accommodate that on para, so I decided to take fixed route.
Okay.
When I went on fixed route, of course, Orange Line had the access to the location that I need to go, but because it was not ADA, I wasn't able to access that vehicle. So, to respond to your question, whether we call in to make a schedule on time, yes, that works. But in the event that the schedule is so-called fully booked or tight, they're not able to accommodate that. So the alternative, and if I can remind everyone, GRTA is a shared ride system, whether it's fixed route or paratransit. All vehicles must be ADA compliant, and yes, for the past 12 years, GRTA has not utilized non-ADA vehicle until my observation on Friday. That's when I said, again, we're doing this again, really? And that came as a surprise to me because, like I said, after 12 years, for the past 12 years, GRTA has not utilized a non-ADA vehicle until just now. So I'm going to reiterate to your question, Mr. Babauta. No, we cannot just call in and say that, I need a ride here, because it depends upon the availability of schedule. And that is why fixed route is there, and it too must be at ADA accessible, so that anyone who wishes to access fixed route is accommodated, rather than being surprised with something like that, or calling in and waiting for an available unit. I had to deal with that several times because the schedule being tight or fully booked. So I do understand that the agency, would do its best with its current fleet, but these are repetitive issues that has been ongoing. But the most shocking part to me was when I saw a non-ADA vehicle again, and that was repaired for 12 years, like I said, and then here we go seeing that again. So when it comes to shared ride, that's pertaining to fixed and para. So all vehicles, whether it's fixed or para, should be ADA accessible. And the
Chris,
rider does not need to call in if he or she is accessing the fixed route, because that is why it's a shared ride system.
Well, we wanted to,
Um,
we wanted
can, can I,
to link you up, Mr. B,
can,
because I mean these sound like some pretty heavy observations, and I'm sure you could
can I give you,
appreciate where Evelyn is coming from, because we are kind of
yeah.
running out of time here, and
Well, let me just say, Chris. Let me just say that I tell you what. If there's anybody in paratransit that's being provided additional service, it's Miss Evelyn Duenas. I can assure you that right now for a fact. But let me just say that when I first came on board, like I said before, one of the first things that I did was order buses. I'm waiting for those buses. It's going on 2 years. As soon as those buses show up, I can tell you that we will be providing a much, much better service than what we're providing right now, despite our shortcomings. But I can assure you that we're doing our best to provide the best service possible to our customers. And Ms. Evelyn Duenas, factually speaking, GRTA has been providing her with the most service that anyone than any other paratransit riders. I can tell you that
okay,
right now.
so I don't appreciate that, because
It's a
the
truth. It's
system
a truth.
belongs to everybody. I don't appreciate that. And it's equal access,
Last
and you
Friday,
know that.
last Friday
So
afternoon,
do
ready to go
your
out.
professional, and those things shouldn't have been mentioned. And
Well,
you're drifting away from confidentiality, so. And again, that is, everybody's listening to this,
well,
but
okay,
you're drifting away from
okay,
confidentiality
Miss
to
Evelyn, we're gonna go ahead
everybody.
and thank you, Mr. B. Keep me posted, Evelyn, on how this works out for you guys. But yeah, if we're concerned about confidentiality on Miss Evelyn's part, then I just want to go ahead and cut this interview short, because I don't want to get anything out there that you guys aren't comfortable with. So we appreciate
Yeah.
your efforts, Mr. Vivalta. Keep us posted, both sides. I know that we've had Mr. B on before, and I remember he said, "Hey, the people who ride this bus are the people that we want to make happy," and so that's what we're trying to do there. It's 9:54 on the link. Let's go ahead and go back into the Zoom room, Jay. Can we go back into the Zoom room for Harlem Hikes? This is a great partnership we have with Manetlu, right?
Manetlu and then Afamalik,